Hi guys, okay, this is part 2 of the Simple Cooking series. Now we're going to go over some gear that you're going to be seeing in this series, and we're going to talk just a second about it and what you can expect, okay? For the personal size, level 1, you're going to need some small cook pot for you to cook in. Now that can be a coffee can at home. If you want to practice, a metal coffee can works fine. You can practice on the stove doing it. That's something small. If not, any of the backpacking small titanium pots or whatever work fine. And you're going to see a lot of the canteen cups because I did a lot of cooking in canteen cups. It was a perfect size for a single person usage. Now this one happens to be the Pathfinder, which I recently talked about in a video and I thought was a very good set. It's got the stove with it, it's got the lid with it, it's got the handle that comes around underneath and locks together. We'll be using this one for certain recipes and things like that in something small. But any small container like that will work. Now, for the single, okay, the U.S. Army mess kit can be used as a skillet. That can work as a small skillet or one you already have at home. But these are carried a lot. This is no World War I, but the World War II one that you still find everywhere with the divided top is perfectly viable to be used as a small skillet to heat and cook certain meals in the field. So those are okay to utilize for this. Along the skillet line, let's just go on up the skillet line. This is a small cool handle. I believe it's about like a 8-inch diameter cool handle. This one is one of my old ones that you've seen in a lot of videos, and you're going to be seeing a lot of this in this series because I'll cook a lot of small meals. I did the skillet bread in this because it's got a good carbon layer in it and it's easily cooked in. Now what I mean cool handle, as you can see, it's an all metal handle, but it's got a double layer, and that kept it from getting too hot too quickly. And therefore with a simple rag or something, it's easy to grab hold of this. It doesn't get just so hot it'll burn things easily. But still, never grab a hot skillet with a bare hand. Now to step up one step from that, we're going to be using the Pathfinder skillet, which is a full-size skillet. I think it's about 10-inch, and I believe they even have a bigger one. It's got the lid to it, and I like these lids because they're rebated down. We're going to make pizza in this, and we're going to put hot coals up here on the top to melt the cheese and stuff. The handle folds by retracting that back and squeezing it, and it snaps underneath. So that's going to be the skillet we're using. For a bigger camp meal in a skillet, we're going to go to my big heavy-duty cast iron. This is a Lodge, and it has a silicone handle that slides on and off that allows it to be used in a fire and etc. This is going to be the big main dishes. This is like a level 4 where you're trying to cook a big breakfast for several people, and I'm going to get a dozen eggs going at one time, or a full pound of bacon, or a pound of sausage, or something like that. But we'll get to that down the line. But this should be the biggest skillet I will use in this event. Should at any time, along with me doing this, I bring in something new because I forgot to add it or whatever, I will up front tell you this is an addendum. I meant to say this, but I didn't. Okay, but this is most of my cooking gear right here that I'm planning on using because I can see like pizza in this. I can see doing the big egg casseroles and stuff to do for breakfast and stuff in that big cast iron skillet. So let's talk about skillets for just a second in material. This is stainless steel, but it's got a good heavy bottom. This is sheet steel. This one heats up faster than that one does. And heat, we'll talk about this during cooking, as you're cooking and the heat is being transferred from your heat source to the pan to the food, certain things that are liquid and not so easy to stick to the bottom, I can get away with a faster heat transfer, like an aluminum skillet. Very thin aluminum, I should say. But for things not to stick, I need it to be a heavier. That's the reason cast iron is so desired, because it takes more energy, and that energy goes into the metal and then it spreads out and the temperature comes up slower on the food end. So it doesn't burn as fast. Plus, once it's good and hot, let's say I'm doing a multiple run of different types of meats, and I'm going to scoop what's done out, and then into that hot oil I put a piece of cold meat. It sucks the temperature back down. It's got to kind of catch up, heat it up, and get cooking again. The thin sheet pans don't do as good a job as those bigger pans because they don't have the mass, and therefore they drop temperature faster. And so I can take a piece of done fish out here and it's boiling and rolling, and take a piece of cold fish and put it back in it. It just stops boiling. Sits there, soaks up the oil, and then it goes to cooking. The heavier the skillet, the thicker the bottom, the less chance of that happening. But we'll deal with that when we start talking about frying multiple for big things. The advantage that the Pathfinder has in this department is it has a thick bottom. And that's one of the reasons I really like it. The thick bottom makes it spread that heat more evenly across it, and therefore is a better cooking pan to me. And many people use this in a lot of videos. You'll see it, and there's a good reason. It's a really good piece of gear to have today in a camp kit for cooking. Whereas the old military set, like I talked about, is adequate. It works, but this is aluminum. So remember I talked about it spreading that heat fast. We'll talk about that when we go to cook, about how you got to keep an eye on whatever the skillet is or whatever. Okay. Now, we've already touched on the idea of a personal size, some small cook pot. This does not have to be a canteen. If you have one of these small cook sets like this that have these relatively smaller bowls in them, you can use that if you want to. It's just a small single serving is what we're going at. You can cook everything in a big one if you want to, but it's just the size and the proportions that we're going to talk about are going to be limited more for a single serving. And you know, let's face it, everybody's different. And so let me tell you a little sideline right here. Many years ago when I was a truck driver, I went into a truck stop in Santa Rosa, Florida, on I-10. Never been there before. And it was right at sunup, and I just come all the way from Texas, and I was hungry. Now, when I graduated high school, I was 5'2", and I weighed about 125 pounds maybe. And I was, within a year or so of graduating high school, I was driving 18-wheelers and delivering multi-million-dollar radars. So, yeah. So I come walking into that truck stop, and up on the board, they had this thing on breakfast. And it said a number 1, a number 2, a number 3, a number 4, and all it said was eggs, toast, grits, choice of meat, da-da-da-da. Well, I told the little lady that come up for the thing, I said, I'll take a number 2. And she looked at me and said, you ain't big enough. And that kind of offended me. I said, ma'am, I'm hungry. She said, a number 1 is 3 eggs. And then it's this big a container of grits, 4 strips of bacon, da-da-da-da. It goes up from there. A number 2 is 6 eggs. A number 4 is 2 dozen eggs. That'll give you an idea. Well, she was right. I wasn't that big. But everybody, I saw people that thing come up and order a number 4 and eat it, you know, because they were big eaters and they could handle it. So feel free during this series to double it up or cut it in half, whatever the components are, based upon your needs. So if I show a family meal that you'd use a dozen eggs and you like the recipe, but you want to scale it down to you, just cut it down to 2 or 3 eggs and try that. Cut it down in size. That's one of the things about being a cook, scaling it up or scaling it back down. Oftentimes when I would do my own little cookbook, I would list what I wanted to cook in a canteen cup, and then how I could ride that up. So it was like 2 eggs, da-da-da-da, for this. If I was cooking for, I was really hungry, it was 4 eggs and da-da-da-da. If I'm cooking for the group, you know, everybody's there and etc., it was a dozen eggs. Same recipe, just scale it up in proportion. And that's something, there are many channels and stuff that'll help you work with, and most of the ladies that are good cooks will tell you exactly how to swip that around a little bit. But again, it's simply scaling up or scaling down to fit your needs. So, Again, canteen for that. Now, I like to use a canteen cup for single use. Slightly above that, my next step for me is I use the Trangia Military Cook Set because it's 2 components and it's also a little bit bigger. So this pot to me is about like that canteen cup. It's bigger and it's got a bigger capacity, but if I'm cooking something that needs a little more surface area to cook, this would be a good choice. These type of pots are available. They're cheap. They're easy to get. Even if you don't get the stove and all, these come out of Russia, Poland, all over Europe. And this similar style, there'll be slightly differences in the handle and how deep they are, but same basic idea. You can get one of those and try that. But this makes a good single serving. It also can make a bigger serving to be a side dish with something else. See, I can produce a larger component of this that can be divided in half for me and you to eat. So this goes like the 1, and this goes like 1.5 to 2, depending. Okay. Next step up, a 3, bush pot. Now this is the smaller bush pot from Pathfinder. You've seen in several of my videos, and I have cooked the snot out of stuff in it. I've got a complete kit in this, and I've done videos on that. But one of the things I really like about this bush pot is the fact that it's got the bale handles, and this turns it into a coffee pot. This becomes a large coffee pot, so at gatherings, when you, me, and 2 or 3 others sitting around on a cold night and we want hot water to make hot chocolate, hot tea, or coffee, there it is. Fill that up, keep it on the fire, just keep it going. Got the handles in the back, you can pour it like a coffee pot, or it's a big stew pot. I can fry in it, I can cook in it. So to me, this is a 2-person, 3-person, 4-person if I'm making this for something to divide out. It's like a whole pot of red potatoes to be an addendum to add to somebody else's cooking the meat. Well, I'm going to contribute red potatoes or peas or corn or whatever. This becomes the potluck bush pot to contribute to the larger crowd. One of these. So this is about the biggest bush pot I go with because it seems to handle that, and it's got the stove with it, which gives it distinct advantages. Now, in a lot of the various meals that you're going to be carrying, it's just hot water. Okay, you can of course heat up hot water in any of these containers, but one of these kettles is very handy for that to keep in fire sets, because put water on this, there's hot coffee water, hot food water, clean a pot water, okay, where I can take it and clean a pot real quick without having to put the water in the pot and set it back on the fire. I can keep hot water close at hand as a heat source. If my meals are going to be the dehydrated meals, this would be a good way to go. If I'm making a lot of hot tea, hot chocolate because it's a cold night, like I said, just want to keep something on the fire, mostly for me, maybe share with one other, these little bitty kettles are a good way to go. You can also cook in it. We've talked about that. But this works as a quick and light. So it's kind of like a 1, 1.5. Okay? Now, let's talk about the sets. Okay, you're going to see a lot of these sets. This is the knockoff of the Trangia set. Trangias are the stove, and then it makes a base that you recently saw me make, Kibasa Surprise. The skillets fit onto this very easily, and these holes allow me to run tent stakes through there and sit on top as a grill, if not use a grill. But this becomes a quick and easy little stove, and it will easily handle what I'm after. Okay? As far as the cook set is concerned, it has 2 good sized pots with a handle to pick it up. And then I have a fry pan that serves as a lid for both pots. So that will be a quick and easy. This was cheap. It was on eBay, and it's a knockoff of the actual Trangia 25, I think. The Trangia 25, and there's one of the grip handles that locks onto it. The Trangia 25, as I recall, ran for something like 80 or 90 bucks, and this was like 30 bucks. So it's aluminum, but for what I'm going to use it for, making stews and things like that, and like you saw me make cabbage and stuff in the skillet on top of it, it works well for that. So it becomes part of a system. Okay. you may want to invest in a nested system so that I can have from small to big just by what I take with me to the field. See, that may be a distinct advantage. Now, simply because I know some of you are going to ask, I've got my original vintage Boy Scout set. This is the old 1930s set that's the steel fry pan, which is exactly the same size as the cool handle skillet. Fry pan's the same size as that. So think of that like the Boy Scout set. I had an old Boy Scout gift me this a few years ago, where it's an old original set, and it's got the extra plate that doesn't exist anymore. What I mean by extra plate, it's got a second steel plate that goes along with the skillet. It's the same size. So there's the skillet, there's the plate that goes onto it. I believe it's actually just a skillet without a handle, but it's also steel, same way. And I've seasoned both of them so I can use them for various things. Inside is the soup pot. Now this could be substituted for the canteen cup for one of these size cook pots. I like the fact this old set has got a rebated lid. Remember, I talked about using coals and stuff, and this is made out of steel. Now, these you just got to hunt on eBay. These are old antiques, okay? These are all tinned steel from like the 1930s, pre-World War II type Boy Scout set, and are a good cooking set. I've really enjoyed using mine, and you will be seeing me use this one in various capacities, okay? And it's got the big heavy mixing bowl that you'll see me mix up breads and things like that in that. And that's one of the things I like with the Boy Scout set, is utilizing it as a mixing set, okay? Now, along that line, let's just go ahead and bring that up. Recently I got the Campcraft Pantry, I believe they call it, and I did a video on it where it's got various tins inside of it. This will be where I'm going to be pulling my raw components out on the video. So that's where I got it, will be Campcraft, okay? And if there's some piece of gear that I don't mention in a video, then you're interested in that piece of gear because you'd like to have it, simply ask me in the comments and I will always try to respond to you immediately and tell you what it was, okay? If you ask me where to get the Boy Scout vintage set, you just got to go look on eBay and get lucky. I have seen them from time to time. Once you educate yourself to realize what you're looking at, you can tell the difference between the steel set and the aluminum set. But it's just going to have to be one of them hunts because that's an antique, okay? Next, by not the least, by the time we've done all this, now we climb up into the bigger sets. My Dutch oven, that's a deep Dutch oven. This is about a 8-inch diameter, but it's about a 5-inch deep Dutch oven. This is a kettle, okay? This is used for making big pots of stews and things like that to generate for myself or a crowd. Now, it's heavy. These are not carry along in the backpack, okay? These are going to be carried by conveyance. You're going to have it in a car, you're going to have it in a canoe, you're going to have it on the RV, whatever, to get there. But they're well worth it as a cooking implement. Once you become versed in how to utilize Dutch ovens, there ain't nothing you can't do in a Dutch oven you can't do at home. I mean, really. I can bake breads, I can make stews, I can fry, I can poach, I can name it. And I would recommend you get one of the cookbooks that are more than available, and the Boy Scouts have got a good one on Dutch oven cooking, and it goes in depth into it. Now, they make an aluminum Dutch oven that's much lighter and maybe something you want to look into. Me, I'm an old traditionalist. I used these in living history for nearly 15 years. And so for that, I was cooking nightly almost with these at these week-long events of everything from cooking steaks to stews to breads to sweets to cinnamon rolls to whatever. This is what we cooked in. Now, in Dutch ovens, this is my favorite Dutch oven stew pot, okay? My favorite Dutch oven, on a personal note, and I share it one or two, is an 8-inch this side. This one is well loved and used, heavily seasoned. This is the one that I love to make biscuits in and stuff like that. And then on the top end, and I'm going to stand up to get this one, is my big 10-inch Dutch oven. The 10-inch is the big group feed. That's the big deep fryer for fish and things like that. That's the one that I'm cooking the big meals with. You take the lid and you flip it upside down onto the coals, and it's a griddle, and I can sit there and cook eggs or whatever in it that way. Now, 2 other pieces of kit and we're done. I recently picked up, I just got a smeared old Dutch oven. I just got grabbing one of the legs, and I got creosote on me, grease on me from years ago cooking soot. I went online, went to Hellfire, and I got me a pair of these stainless steel grills. You'll see this. This is handy to be able to put across the top of sticks, being put across the top of tent stakes, being put across the top of this set to be able to cook. Having a pair of small grill panels is just so handy, and I've got a little carrier for it. And this way I can easily have grills to cook hamburgers or small stuff onto it, where I may be wanting to pick the grill up, you know, put the grill on the fire and then take the grill off, you know, depending on what I'm doing. Besides that, you're going to have various cooking implements like spatulas, metal spatulas, spoons and things like that we carry in camping. I'll be using all of these depending on it. And last but not least, and I'm missing a piece of gear, I'm going to tell you straight up because I ain't got mine here, honey. It's on loan right now, or I'd have it right here. You're going to see me use my squirrel cooker, which is a way of roasting meats and things like that on a fire. I use mine to heat up hunks of meat, steaks, whatever. I'll show you how to use one of these cookers. Now, the big one I don't have is one I get from Dan Lutz, which is the Sasquatch cooker, which is a big, heavy thing. And you can put 10 pounds hanging there on the end of that thing. It don't bend. And it's just a handy thing to have because I can take a big roast or whatever, put it out there on the fire, cook it, slice off the meat as it cooks, leaving the raw meat back to more cooking. That's a great way to do it at a big hunting camp or something where you're trying to feed several people. You just put the big piece of meat sitting there roasting, rotate it ever so often, and then as the outside gets done, you take your knife and slice off that meat and keep the heat going on it to cook the rest of it deeper and deeper. A fast and easy way to do it. So, in conclusion, I've got quite a little collection right here to show you with. A small pot of some kind when we're doing the canteen. Something about like a 2-quart pot for doing the larger sets. A frying pan of at least small, moderate size all the way up, depending on what you got. And then a larger cooking container, something like a Dutch oven. Those are the things we're going to be utilizing in this series. Okay? Now, if you've got any questions or thoughts or whatever about this, please leave them in the comments below and I'll be glad to address them. But I wanted to do this video up front so that later on, when I get a lot of questions, I can refer it back to this video, you know, to try to save a little bit of time. I hope that you've enjoyed it, and I hope you're looking forward to the cooking. Please leave any question or comment down there, and if there's some recipe you want me to tackle, throw it in there. I'll be glad to try it. Till next time, I'm Blackie, wishing you safe journeys. Have a great day, guys.